Okay, Gary. Yeah, I thought you might come back with something a little bit more than 5 minutes of saying creativity is natural selection. If all of this that we've done, and I've had a friend that say we don't create, we really don't. We manipulate. And all of our manipulation is just due to our evolution. And perhaps, out of everything that I've seen in the world, who knows, maybe that's true. But there are lingering questions of things that we do that are different than anything else on this planet. I'm watching people up in above the earth right now that are working on this big machine called the International Space Station. It's actually not that big. It's about 3 football fields in size. And thinking about, are we up there because we're trying to survive some way? And I think that's my problem, is connecting natural selection or survival of the fittest, which is what you're describing by, tigers will eat us, lions chase us. And so we came up with we manipulated things called tools and created them into weapons to defend ourselves, to keep our species going, just as any other species would in natural selection. Is this being done because we're trying to survive? Perhaps. Stephen Hawking just came out and said that, and he had said it before, that the only way this species is going to survive is to move out into the stars. We have to find another planet because this planet is doomed. This planet will not last forever. And if our species is going to last, then we have to find another place to go. And perhaps that's what the space program is all about, is that we find a place to go, just to survive as a species. Now, you talked about artistic creativity, and I wasn't trying to focus on that, even though I do art, I do music. I don't think I do either of them very well. I know you do music. I don't know if you do art. But those things are forms of expression. And perhaps the only reason that we do those forms of expression is the same as a peacock spreading its feathers to attract a mate. Is our creativity only focused on attracting attention? YouTube, is it for attracting attention? Perhaps. Everybody fights for those top spots so we get more attention. I know people probably don't pay a lot of attention to discussions like this. They would rather see something more creative, And so perhaps our creativity, our expression, is part of that natural selection of attracting a mate. And, I don't know. You think about everything that we've done as a species in manipulating the things about us, around us. From basic tools, fork, a spoon, a knife, to more complex tools, a spaceship, an aircraft carrier, aircraft carrier, war machines. War machines are the most sophisticated, most technologically advanced, the most expensive. A lot of energy is put into waging war. And I guess you're seeing war as part of natural selection. You know, that if I can conquer my enemy, that's going to allow me to survive better. Or it's going to allow me to survive. But I don't know. I mean, that's all centered in the questions of what it is to be creative. But somebody responded to a video, the only response to a video, about it's not a matter of how or when, it's a matter of why. And I guess the answer to that would be to survive. You know, to survive as a species. We're creative because we have to survive. And natural selection would be in that order. You know, that we became the masters of this planet, not due to some omnipresent God, but we became the masters of this planet because we were the more innovative, ingenious species to come up with the method to manipulate. And maybe it was this, you know? Maybe it was the thumb that did it. And religion is just trying to explain all of that. And it's easy to explain it with some superpower, you know, gave us these gifts. And we need to honor that superpower that gave us those gifts. And that superpower being, you know, God, Allah, Yahweh. And we created that to give us motivation. Motivation to continue creating and manipulating and going forward. Defeating our enemies who are going to keep us from surviving. And if that's true, I mean, if it's all natural selection and all humans are part of that original evolution of our brain increasing in size and increasing in intelligence, and we have that part of our brain that gives us our creativity, you know, between the left side and the right side. And those elements came to be because we were just trying to survive. Then we should be able to see that hopefully evolution will take another step, because evolution is baby steps. You know, Aborted Soul talked about that, and I agree with that, but there's other questions out there. But if we take evolution in baby steps, then we need to take a baby step that we're all human, and we're all in this process of evolving and taking it to a step that we can see war as being counterproductive to our survival. We can see that viewing other human beings as an enemy based on beliefs is anti-human. It's going against what we're trying to do. And that is to reach out for our species to survive, to go someplace else. Now I don't know what your belief is or what your feelings are or where your philosophy lies in space travel. But we need to get a grip on what our purpose is. Why are we here? Before we undertake that endeavor. Before we go to another planet and set foot on it. We need to question ourselves as a species. Why are we doing this?
This view looking up at the
You know,
International Space Station,
merely for survival?
looking at most of
Or is there something else?
pressurized various modules of the station, the Destiny Laboratory.
What is inquisitiveness?
Of the view docked
Why do we question?
permanently to the Unity node, which is
Why do you
a
question me? Why do I question you?
onto which is
What is that?
permanently mounted the uniquely shaped.
Oh, I realized I didn't answer your question. Do I see a difference between will and free will? No, I don't. The will to do something is kind of the center of where all this started, and I think my first response to you was that free will was created by religions, created by a belief system that gave us reason for making decisions. And that reason was that this omnipresent being gave us free will to choose between following the being, following that belief, or not following that belief. And that was kind of my take on free will. But it's all will. The will to do something, the will to make a decision. And I think you dissected that philosophically fairly well. I wasn't questioning your definition on will or free will. What I was doing was trying to bring into the conversation the point of creativity, which I think is what drives the will to do something, to be creative. So anyway, I don't know if you want to take it any farther than that. If you're happy with creativity being part of the natural selection, and that's where it lies, I think if the gist of your argument is that everything is based on natural selection, and we are just moving along the process of that, then we need to go farther in the conversation to see what to move beyond the argument of free will or will, and to move into the argument of, if this is natural selection, if that's what we are doing, and you're going to be on this planet much longer than I am, or beyond where I am, because I started before you, because I was selected first, then the argument needs to go beyond that, because all you're going to get is disagreement, conflict. You need to establish a cause, and that cause, in your own words, would be survival, for us to move forward as a species. And if there are things that are keeping us from doing that, which you've identified, or I've identified, you really haven't, then that's where we need to go. I mean, or it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo of who can outdo the other as far as philosophy. And religion is a philosophy. Seeing a being called God as the bearer of all weight of our creation is a philosophy. And I think that's why sometimes philosophers get into questioning if God even exists, because it's a counter argument to humans creating their own will, their own destiny. Religions would be anti-creating our own destiny. God creates our destiny, not us. So, anyway, No, I don't think there's any difference between our will and our free will. I mean, it's just a matter of definition.
Right.
I saw your video about feeling under the weather, and I've also been feeling under the weather. So anyway, enjoy your Pepsi and your Mountain Dew. I'll simply enjoy my root beer and my root beer. So
We plan on terminating the free breeze
take care.
time at 16.